Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Dr. Rawda Awad, the President of the American University of Kuwait, it is my pleasure to welcome you all in our today event that is about how artificial intelligence can enhance digital activity. My name is Dr. Ahmad Sabr. I'm the Assistant Director in the Office of Research and Grant at the AUK. This event directly contributes to our commitment as a private university toward the Sustainable Development Goal, especially for goal number 9, that is stated that industry, innovation, infrastructure particularly target on significant increasing accessibility to information and communication technology. Today we are in the AUK are honored to welcome Ms. Karen McRae from the US Embassy, the Economic Officer. We are so proud and so pleasure to have you here with us. A special thankful to our department, the Information Technology Department and the Public Relations Department at the AUK for their support to make this event successfully happening. Let me introduce our panelists today. We have Dr. Zainab Al-Meraj. She is Associate Professor of Computing at Kuwait University in the College of Life and Sciences. Dr. Zainab Al-Meraj received her PhD in Computer Science from University of Waterloo in Canada. Dr. Zainab Al-Meraj have several contributions, several certificates in usability and accessibility professional that enhance our understanding of accessible technology. Also, Dr. Zainab Al-Meraj has several academic contributions in the field of accessible technology. In addition, she works in building knowledge and skills across of the community by creating several initiatives in Kuwait to promote the skill sharing, coaching, mentoring opportunities, building network, and spread awareness on how to make tech more usable on our daily life. Also, we have Dr. Iyad Abu Doush, Professor in Computing Department at the AUK. Dr. Abu Doush working in machine learning, optimization algorithm, human-computer interface, and enhancing technology for accessibility. Dr. Abu Doush, he obtained his PhD from Computer Science Department at New Mexico State University in the US. Dr. Abu Doush has appointment in, as a Director of Research, as a Director of the Office of Research and Grant in the AUK. Also, we have our champion panelist, Mr. Ahmad Tawfiq Albahar, noted as a radio producer at the Ministry of Information in Kuwait. Ahmad Tawfiq Albahar also, he's a champions the right and inclusion of people with disability through his work in Training Gate International. And also, we are honored to have Ms. Al-Khansa Al-Husseini. She is the Director of Planning and Research at Kuwait Public Authority of Disability BADA. She is in charge of shaping the policies that improve accessibility in Kuwait. Thank you all for joining us. Together, let's explore how artificial intelligence can play a significant role to enhance digital accessibility, driving progress toward our SDG goals. Now, let us to begin the panel discussion. Please, you are welcome to come.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and joining us in this panel discussion. and we appreciate it so much, yes. Before we start, we will have for each question 5 minutes, so just so that everyone. Yes. And now we'll have Mr. Ahmad. He'll do a demo for like 3 minutes, how he uses a screen reader in his daily life. Yeah.
السلام عليكم. مالي صوتي واصل ولا لا؟ Okay. Do you want me to speak in Arabic, English? It's up to you. English. All right. Okay. First of all, thank you for having me here, and I'm honored to be here. And I'd like to thank Dr. Iyad and the people who've been working to present this panel discussion, for inviting me to be here. I'm really happy to be here. Just to clarify, I don't work at the Training Gate International. I'm actually a proud member of Training Gate International, headed by Mrs. Kifayat Alban. And I've been a member there since, I believe, 2015 or 16. And yeah, so right now what I'm going to demonstrate for you is basically how can I use, or how do I use a screen reader. But before I demonstrate how do I use a screen reader, I'd like to clarify, sorry, I'd like to clarify what is a meaning, or the meaning behind a screen reader. When people see me using a laptop, they assume that I'm using a specialized laptop that's designed for people with disabilities or for people who are blind. They also assume that the keyboard has Braille on it, or Braille tactile on it. They also assume that the laptop itself has a screen reader built into it from the start. And I'd like to say that all of these assumptions are false. And here's why. If I want to tackle each assumption on its own. So first of all, I don't use a specialized laptop. I use any normal laptop. I use a normal laptop like anyone else that has Windows on it. And two, the keyboard doesn't have Braille on it. It's a normal keyboard that I basically memorized throughout the years. Three, the laptop doesn't have a built-in screen reader. I'm using a screen reader called NVDA, which is non-visual desktop access, and it's an open source screen reader that is designed by 2 Australian blind developers. And I highly recommend you to check it out, because it's the most used screen reader throughout the world. Now, how does the screen reader work? The screen reader that I use, which is NVDA, as I've said, basically analyzes what's on the screen, and it speaks it out to me, or it outputs what's on the screen to me through speech. And the way it does that is through basically analyzation, and navigation, of course, is done through the keyboard. So, for example, here, let me just one second. Sorry, this laptop is a bit slow. This is the issue with Windows laptops. Well, hopefully, we're gonna fix it. Just give me a second.
Let's try.
Okay.
Can you type again?
Speech is not.
What we can do is that. Okay, so I think what we will do is that we will make the demo at the end, not at the beginning.
Yes.
We did testing, but I don't know what's the technical issue that we are having here. So let's make the demo for the screen reader at the end, and we can start the panel. So, yeah. Thank you. You can sit here.
Thank you, everyone, once again. We'll start with the panel discussion.
Can you please open this one?
My first question is with Dr. Zainab. What is digital accessibility and why is it important?
Hello, great to see everybody here, and thanks for coming. Definitely digital accessibility is one of the topics close to my heart. I came into the area actually coincidentally, after finishing my PhD, imagine it. So I finished in computing, and all those years I hadn't come across, since I did an undergrad in computer engineering, I then did a master's in computer science, and then a PhD in computer science, and it was never mentioned in any of the curriculums throughout those studies. And when I did discover it, it was through non-profits' efforts here in Kuwait towards documenting the violations we have towards people with disabilities. We had a convention we were writing at the time, and the convention's called CRPD, the Convention of People with Disabilities at the United Nations, and that convention was to promote inclusivity, equality of people with disabilities, and non-discrimination. And when I discovered that we had a lot of violations at that point, this was 10 years back when I started looking at this area, I myself had to learn what digital accessibility really meant. And what it is that we have to learn how to design and develop products, digital products, in a way that are accessible not just for everyone, but for the wider majority of people. So this includes a subset, which are the minority, which are people with disabilities themselves. So when I say, okay, what types of disabilities, it just means that I'm building these products so that people who have vision problems, and we saw Ahmad was about to show us how he used a screen reader as one of the tools to access the internet online, as one example. People with auditory issues, hearing, people with speech disabilities, people with cognitive disabilities, and a lot more of those disabilities all need help in reaching content online, one way or another. So yes, digital accessibility is very important. It's actually embedded in our morals and ethics of wanting equality, expecting that we are treated equal or given equal experiences to other people accessing technology. So that was, I guess, is the basis. It's also probably for many, in our terms, is the right thing to do. Why wouldn't I? If I'm able to do it and apply best practices to make it, then why don't I do it and start early as well, thinking about that process? And then the other words I would like to mention as well before I end that question is like laws and policies. Not every country has laws and policies related to digital accessibility, and making sure that it's applied. We are growing in our region and there's more talk about it, but it's others in the West are still promoting, they are still fighting for their causes. So it's a long process, and awareness is one step in the right direction. So that's why I thank you again for being here today.
Thank you, Dr. Zainab. Thank you, appreciate it. I have a question for Mr. Ahmad. What are the most significant challenges you face when interacting with digital platforms, and how can developers and designers better address these challenges?
Now, there are a lot of challenges that people with disabilities face when it comes to navigating digital platforms, whether they are mobile applications or websites or even web apps. And these challenges, of course, for example, if we want to talk about websites, for me as a blind person, a lot of websites are not accessible, and I was actually going to talk about this when I was going to demonstrate the use of the screen reader in terms of different ways. So, for example, the way I navigate a website, any website, if I go to a website, is by using headings. And headings allow me to basically go to or reach as the specific part of the website that I want to reach. I can either use I use headings or I use a find feature, but generally speaking, I use headings. And unfortunately, many or most websites are not structured enough in terms of the way that they display headings. Other than that, you have unlabeled links So basically, if a screen reader hovers on the link, you won't be able to know where this link leads to as a screen reader user, because the link doesn't have a label, or you have unlabeled buttons. So same way as the links, you also have unlabeled form fields, unlabeled checkboxes. You have, for example, if you want to access a calendar on a website to book an event, for example, the calendar is not usable or accessible with a screen reader. These are just some issues out of many that we face as blind users in our daily use of the screen reader to navigate the websites, whether we use these screen readers on the laptop or on mobile. Of course, you can solve these issues by following the WCAG Web Content Accessibility Guidelines and the accessibility framework that PADA worked on for Kuwait. That's when it comes to web accessibility. When it comes to mobile accessibility, there are different categories. For example, when it comes to banking, unfortunately, many blind users here in Kuwait face a lot of issues when it comes to banking applications. Why? Because the apps are not accessible or are not usable usable by the screen reader itself. Many, if not all, blind people in Kuwait use the iPhone to use these apps, and they rely on a feature called VoiceOver, which again is a screen reader that allows them to use the iPhone by basically using gestures that allows them to navigate through the app in order for them to do a certain task. Examples of usability when it comes to banking include not being able to access their accounts, or not being able to, for example, do a certain transaction, or transfer money between accounts, or even apply for a new card, etc. Other than banking, we have the retail sector. Unfortunately, a lot of apps in the retail sector are not accessible for us blind people. And we, as blind people, we need these apps to be accessible more than anyone else. Why? Because going to the supermarket as a blind person, here in Kuwait at least, going to the supermarket is easy, but navigating through the supermarket to get the product that you want is not easy. You have to, let me give you an example. If I go to a supermarket as a blind person, I go, of course, with my helper or driver or family member. Mainly, I go with my driver. I enter the supermarket. I wait for someone there that I can talk to, and I'll wait for them to flag someone there who can help me. And then after they flag the person who can help me, of course, there might be a language barrier. So describing for him or her the product that I want to get is even harder. So that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Yeah, Mr. Ahmad, for the time, we have multiple questions, so we will get back to you regarding that. That yes, there are so many challenges and there are so many places that needs changes and for digital accessibility. I have a question for Ms. Al-Khansa that there are so many initiatives. Please tell us about the policies PADA has implemented for such kind of digital accessibility initiative.
I mean, we worked with PADA, I think, from 2018 under the project Achieving Kuwait Vision 2035 toward person with disability. This project was focused mainly on inclusive environment for person with disability in Kuwait. And one of the, objective, or one of the sectors that we were working on is the inclusion. Mainly we were focusing on inclusion in the built-in environment and the buildings and the streets and these places. But we found out that, inclusion in the technology and web content was one of the aspects that we need to look at, especially Kuwait started working at that time on moving to publish more services, especially government services on the online, and like they developed the Sahel. And so we started developing first a framework to understand exactly what is required in Kuwait. The framework that we published contains policy, guidelines, standards, and procedures. To help Kuwait, or to help the government and the other sectors toward applying or making their environment that more accessible. After that, we start developing or conducting many workshops, training for PADA and for IT staff and other concerned parties in Kuwait. At the end, at the end of 2018, we thought that, okay, we developed a policy, but actually in Kuwait we lack a policy owner. We don't have an organization who is concerned on this type of, to develop and audit and ensure that Kuwait websites are accessible. So we started developing like a strategy for PADA and Kuwait government to develop this kind of accessibility within Kuwait.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Al-Khansa. I have a question for Dr. Iyad now. What are the key challenges in implementing AI-driven solutions for digital accessibility? Yeah, and how they can be addressed?
Thank you, Afsah. Now, as the panelists said, so Ahmed mentioned at the beginning that if you are trying to access a website or a mobile application, you may face several issues if you are using what we call it assistive technology. So assistive technology is trying to make the content more accessible for people with disabilities. Now, if we look into the way of improving the content, you can say, we have the content itself. So let's say that you have a website. So in this case, you have the images, you have the text, and so on. Now, how AI can help people with disabilities when they are accessing that? First, you can see that there is the images, for example, on the website, and how screen readers will be able to identify these images, even if the person who is developing the content was not aware that he must add what we call it alternative text for images. Or if you, for example, look into another site, which is we, in computer science, for example, or engineers, that they are doing the development of the tools. Now, in this case, how you can ensure that these tools are developed in a way that make them accessible. For example, if I'm using, let's say, an application or a tool, then I need to make sure that this application itself is accessible. Now, this comes from the code. And currently in AI, I believe there is many tools that are available that will allow you to produce automatically code. So you can go, for example, to Copilot or to ChatGPT and then ask it, write for me code in Python doing blah, blah. Then it will generate for you the code. You can take that code, test it, then it will develop for you the product or the digital product. But the question is that product accessible? So I think these are the main challenges that we have there, mainly the content and also the AI tools which can be used in order to produce these, you can say, software or digital products. Now, there is another side, which is the issues. So sometimes if you go online, for example, after this panel and search for automatic testing tools for accessibility. In WCAG, for example, they are listing, I believe, more than 170 so far, but there is more if you search on the internet. For example, if I'm having a website, I don't know anything about accessibility, and I want to check if the website is accessible or not. Can I do that? Yes, there is tools, but are these tools accurate? Most of the time, no. Or we can say that because we have standards, so the WCAG standards, we have many of these standards, they cannot be easily tested by these automatic tools. So this is another challenge also about identifying the main issues that you have in the product. And again, I want also to highlight that when we talk about accessibility challenges, it's not only the websites or mobile applications. If you send email, for example, there is elements of digital accessibility there. You need to make sure, for example, that the content is accessible. If a screen reader user is using screen reader, he can know what is the content of that email. If you are sending PDF file, you need to make sure also that this PDF file is accessible. So there is, you can say, multiple kinds of digital products that you need to make sure that they are accessible. But as I said, in AI, in my opinion, the accuracy, reliability are the main issues that we have right now. And we need to ensure also another thing, which is the education for people with disabilities about using these products. Now we know that ChatGPT has been there for like 2 years, and I know all of you know how fast it was from reaching from 0 users or 1 user until it reaches to 1 million or 100 million. I think it was the fastest growing application in number of users in history. And it took, I believe, maybe less than 3 months to reach to that number, the millions of users, you can say. Now, do people with disabilities use these tools? And how they can use them to improve their productivity and efficiency? For me, for example, if you ask me, I use the tools myself each day. When, for example, if I'm drafting something, it can help me, it can provide me with a faster way to create content and so on. But are people with disabilities educated, or they know about the availability of these tools and how they can use them? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Iyad. Thank you. Mr. Ahmad, going back to you, so as Dr. Iyad said, can you share any instances where you use this AI-based accessibility solutions and they help you in your daily activities?
So to go back to Dr. Iyad's question, which is a very excellent question. Do people with disabilities use these tools? Yes, but I wouldn't say there are a lot of people with disabilities, at least in Kuwait, that use these kind of tools. They might use one tool, but not all of them. Why? Because most of these tools, unfortunately, are in English. So there is a language barrier that prevents them from using these tools. Now, in terms of me at least, when I started using ChatGPT, I was thinking of how can it help me when it comes to my work, which is a radio producer. So basically what I do in my job is I produce radio shows by writing scripts. So I was having a problem with Microsoft Word while writing my scripts when it comes to formatting. So I thought, what if I let ChatGPT write a program for me that helps me with formatting? The program that I wrote, basically, what does this do is it takes the title of the topic that I want to discuss in my radio show, and then it asks me for the title of the topic, and then I list the questions, and then if there's another topic, it asks me, and so on. After I'm done from all of that, I hit save, and it will create a Word file with the formatting that I specified in the programming, while programming the program. And that way, the file is created with the formatting I want, and I don't have to rely on a sighted person's help or a person who can see to check if the formatting of the script is correct or not. This is one use. Another use is by a program called Be My Eyes, or an application called Be My Eyes. Now, Be My Eyes, when it first launched, it launched to help blind people by connecting them to volunteers across the world to help them with their needs by video call. So basically what I can do is if I wanna help, I open Be My Eyes, I click on call and volunteer, it connects me by video to a random volunteer, and they'd be able to see what I'm pointing the camera at, and if I have any questions, I'd ask them and they'd help me. Later on, they partnered with OpenAI and developed a feature called Be My AI. And the way it works is by using GPT-4, which is the newer model of ChatGPT, by recognizing images that I take through my camera or share through the share feature on the iPhone. After it recognizes the images, it outputs what it sees based on the image. So for example, if I take a picture of you guys, I would say a crowd of people sitting on chairs, and it would describe for me in details how basically you look. But the problem that we face in these types of apps when it comes to AI is hallucination. So it might tell me that, for example, a person is wearing a red shirt when he's wearing maybe a green shirt. So that's an issue that needs to be fixed.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Ahmad. Yes, thank you for sharing the AI tools you have been using. I didn't know about them too. I have a question for Dr. Zainab regarding this. So, what actions can individuals or organizations take to promote inclusivity in digital space?
Thank you for that, Afrah. So, in terms of people, how do people make sure that they think more accessible? I think being open-minded and looking around beyond your comfort zone or beyond what you're used to. We generally come from families that have a broad range of ages, right? From very little to very old. As you grow older, you lose, or some of your senses get deteriorated. Some of your mobility gets deteriorated. Okay, how are these people that end up with dexterity problems using technology? Do they give up? Do they stop using ICT altogether? What happens to us when we're not able to use technology later? When we try and think of things like that, it sort of puts into perspective what I need to put as a priority when I create and design. That's one way for people to think. In terms of organizations, they can do a lot of stuff to promote accessibility. One of the things is to do awareness and training sessions, bring the topic and have it more repeated for people to listen to every now and then. The discussion is huge. There's a lot of things to share, but make it relevant so organizations can talk about, for example, accessible workplaces that include digital tools. So if I can have, let's say one example, since we're given lots of examples on this panel, is if I have a broken arm and my right arm is the main arm for me to type. Right, during those 2 months of me casted, I can't type with that arm. Then what do? How do I remain productive? Is my workplace accommodated to that? How quick is it? Can they teach me or help me to move to speech to text on my device or my PC at work? So this is one thing or one example of that, and for organizations. Another thing they can do is start with embedding the concepts of universal design principles, and as well as web content accessibility guidelines and other international ICT-related laws and policies and standards within their organizations. So they need to establish them themselves. They need to have buy-in at senior level and ensure that all aspects of their organizations are working towards inclusivity. And I can't think of any. There's a lot more, basically. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think awareness is more important, and it's for improving it. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Dr. Yeah, I have a question for Ms. Al-Khansa. So, what are the common barriers or obstacles you face for implementing these policies and the laws for digital accessibility and inclusivity?
The main barrier is law and enforcement of law in Kuwait. I mean, we developed this framework in 2018 until now, 2024. After 6 years, we don't have a law or a regulation for that. The second, I feel it's awareness and training the people about how to develop accessible tools or accessible website. And I think the people are resisting this because it's an extra effort they have to put, and extra money sometimes. One of the also things that we lack in Kuwait is we don't have lots of companies or third party to do auditing for your websites or tools or application you develop. That's why sometimes we rely on person with disability to do the testing and auditing to support us on these things.
Do you have people who are actually doing the tests and
What?
do you also have you bring people to do the test and
Yes.
okay.
Yes, Ahmad Albahar is one of them actually.
Yeah, he mentioned that he is working with you, so yeah, that's great. Yes. So now my question is for Dr. Iyad. Can you please provide examples of AI applications that has improved digital accessibility for individuals with disabilities?
Now, before I answer this question, I want to comment on what Ms. Al-Khansa mentioned, which is in many cases, people will think that accessibility will need more effort and more cost for the development, you can say. Now, I can think of that similar if you are planning to have a building, and then at the beginning you did not plan to have a ramp, and that ramp will make it easier for example, for people on wheelchairs, or if there's a lady who is having her baby on a stroller is going to the building and so on. So this plan was not from the beginning, so they built the building and then they discover, okay, we need a ramp. Then how much it will cost? It will cost much larger comparable if they have the plan from the beginning, right? And if you think about accessibility, it's the same thing. Here, if you are going to produce a digital product and you have in the system development life cycle, the planning phase and the development phase, the testing phase, you have the consideration of people with disabilities from the beginning, and your team is aware of that, it will not cost that much, in my opinion, because you have that planned from the beginning, because they know that when they write the codes, it will be tested in that way, there's some standards that they need to follow, and so on. So at the end, it will ensure that we have the product accessible. Going back to your question, Afsah, about examples of successful AI applications. Now, Ahmed, he already mentioned actually 2 examples. The mobile application, Be My Eyes. Be My Eyes is a mobile application. By the way, any one of you can download that application after the session. Go to your Play Store or Apple Store and then search for Be My Eyes. Download that application. In that case, you can be a volunteer, by the way, for a person who is blind. So if that person, and you can pick the language, by the way, English, Arabic, and so on. Then if there is a person who's blind and he has an image and he wants somebody to describe that image, you will be volunteering for him. So he will do a video call with you and he will ask you about that image. You will provide description. Another part for that mobile application is the Be My AI, like what Ahmed mentioned. So the OpenAI company, they added their GPT-4, which will be automatically recognizing the images. But again, reliability and accuracy is a problem for some cases. Now, if we want to think about what other kind of successful AI applications, I think if you look, for example, to YouTube, now if you upload a video to YouTube, automatically what it will do? It will start adding closed captioning automatically for you, right? In other cases, I saw some platforms, they reach to a level in which even the Arabic language, they can provide automatic closed captioning for that, and it's, you can say, 80% accurate. Now, another area which coming, by the way, from the gaming industry, any one of you play Kinect before using Xbox? في حدا مر عليه Kinect Xbox before? Yeah, so Kinect Xbox, for those who don't know what's that, it's like a camera in the front of the console of Xbox, and then you can play using your body, right? Now, I saw many solutions that they use this kind of gesture, you can say, recognition in order to identify the sign language for users, and nowadays there is actually a platform or a system. It's called Sign All. It's online, and it allows you to have a video, and then you upload that video, and it will do automatic conversion from video with a sign language into text. Okay, but it's again limited for I think American Sign Language. So these are some examples of successful uses of AI application. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Iyad, for mentioning such wonderful applications. I'm going to download them soon. I have a question for Dr. Meraj. How do you see AI shaping the future of digital accessibility?
So AI, I believe, like the integration or merging AI and digital accessibility is really, really interesting. So to add on to some of the examples from Ahmed and Dr. Iyad and so on what's available out there already, I think some of you might be more, if you come across, for example, Google Lens, that is actively now using AI to help people with visual disabilities to access the world around them. They have text-to-speech embedded. They can capture what's written in front and read them to the people. They can detect objects in front of them in the environment and tell them exactly where they are, if there's a step or whatnot. So they are getting better and better all the time with usage. The more we use and allow our access to our data to be accessed and learned from, the better AI is going to be, and the more people with disabilities are using them, the better AI is going to be. So I would think that's a part of it that I wanted to mention. We also have really big projects happening already for other types of disabilities, like, for example, Google's Euphoria project for people with speech disabilities. If I have a heavy accent, you might not understand me. So how do I help people be in a room and really talk? And let's say if they have other disabilities where they cannot pronounce or they stutter and things like that, how is it that these technologies can capture and relay it without all of the extra hindrances, let's say? AI is learning from people who are using them in projects such as that. Paratron is another one I should mention. So because AI runs through learning, right? So it's capturing all of the data that is available within that space and needs more data to feed it. We face a lot of ethical problems. So some of the challenges we have is that the majority of people using AI are not people with disabilities. Not just them, there's a lot of things. So we have bias with outputs that come through ChatGPT and all of the different things that we're using. There's discrimination that happens with the data that it's giving back because it's fed or learned from the majority that is not the minority. So that's something we really need to keep in mind. And us as technologists and those of you in the room that are working with ICT and plan careers for ICT have to understand that holding yourself accountable and those using them accountable to make sure that you break divides, break those barriers that are facing people using technology is discussed in the main rooms where decisions are made.
Thank you, Doctor. I have a question for Mr. Ahmed now. So, what features or functionalities you would like to see in these AI tools? So already there are so many existing, as Dr. Zainab mentioned. So, what else you would like to see?
What I'd really like to see is is it possible, or if there is a way for us to cooperate with each other here in Kuwait as organizations and entities to focus on developing assistive technologies that are that use AI, which help people with disabilities. Unfortunately, at least here in the Middle East or in the Arab world, we're not really focused on developing assistive technologies as much as outsourcing assistive technologies here to this area of the world. And I believe that developing local products would make it easier for us to use, as well as easier for us to implement and also offer, because these products are not cheap. They're really, really expensive. So for example, I use something called a braille display to output. Basically what does it do is a device that outputs text as braille. And these devices can go up to $5,000 to $6,000 to $8,000. So if there are ways for us to find, or basically, if there are ways for us to develop products which are cheaper and local made, that would help. Other solutions that I would like is developing solutions when it comes to navigating the world, the physical world, using AI. Right now, there is, for example, the Meta glasses from Facebook. These glasses use AI to tell you what's around you. This is one feature, at least. So basically what you can do is you can ask the glasses, for example, hey, what do I see in front of me? And it tells you. But again, accuracy is a problem, like Dr. Iyad said, and hallucinations. So another issue that we should try to solve is how to counter these hallucinations. That's what I can think of for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ahmad. I have a question from Ms. Al-Khansa now. So what initiatives SPADA has taken to implement, to leverage these AI technologies, or to implement?
We conducted many awareness sessions for different type of entities and the public. We did a couple of training for the IT and for the, different organization or government ministries. And last year we collaborated with Microsoft on enable 365, Office 365, and the tools to be more used by the government entities.
Okay, so they are taking steps. That's great. Thank you. I have a question for Dr. Iyad now. So, are there any guidelines integrated into the core curriculum of computer science programs? Yeah.
Now, I believe one of the problems that we have in the region here is that we don't prioritize, you can say, inclusion in the curriculum of technology and computer science. So we need to think about how we can have future generation of developers that they are prioritizing inclusion. We can start by looking into courses that have elements of a human facing and include the part of inclusion there. So we can ensure that there is, for example, this part in web design courses, development, software engineering, capstone projects. The other thing is that the importance also of highlighting the practical need for that. So students, when they see that there is applicability or real use of the products that they are developing, they can see also that there is you are, investing in teaching students into developing products and tools that have more customer base, you can say. So that also can be a part when we are updating, you can say, the computer science or technology, you can say, curriculum in general. The other part is a part that was mentioned by Dr. Zainab, which is social responsibility. We need to understand that it's part of the human rights to ensure that we have access for all, country citizens to all the services. They are not prevented, or there is no hindering for them to use these kind of services. So it's also, you can say, social responsibility and human rights. So I think these are the main guidelines that I can think of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for participating in our panel discussion. I think we can see the screen reader now if it's working. We do have time, yeah. And yeah, also, yeah. If
I think for the sake of time, Afsah, let's move to the questions.
Okay.
Because
All
we'll
right
try to
then,
finish
no
on time.
problem.
Thank you.
Thank you all for this great panel discussion. I have a question to Mr. Al-Khansa. Maybe you can take it as a question or maybe a suggestion. From my side, when I go through the website for BADA, I'm a data guy, I cross through the information inside this website. Sometimes I'm interested on knowing about some statistics about how many disability we have. I know you mentioned that we have more than 65,000 of people are disabled here in Kuwait. But sometimes I have a question. Are those 65,000 people are sorted under Kuwaitis or maybe Kuwaitis and non-Kuwaitis? Because this type of information is lacked from the website. Maybe you can develop the website to have more details about those disabilities in the future, because sometimes we need to work on research to have some projection in the future. We need to highlight which of these disabilities has higher trend if we compare it with the other. Thank you.
Yes, I think this is one of PADA's policy is not to publish all the data on the website, but we have an internal website with we have a GIS tools where we categorize the data and we can have a quick summary or statistics of whatever, based on the area or age or disability type, even nationality, but it's not published for the external. Yes, you can request it and we'll provide.
We have a question over here. Hello everyone, I am Hanan Mdairi, an English teacher, a blind English teacher in a Noor School for Girls. First of all, thank you so much for this workshop. Thank you, Mrs. Kifaya Alban, for inviting us to attend this workshop. I have benefited really a lot from this. I am really interested in AI for me as a teacher and for also my students. And I really see the problems that we may face in accessing some websites, especially here in Kuwait, some governmental websites like Mr. Ahmed said, and many other things. So if you, for example, I don't know if I can suggest that something we can, for example, make a research or something to know what are the applications that are really not accessible for the blind here in Kuwait, other blind students or other blind users of technology, and how can we really get access in these websites, especially here in this 2024 and with the AI technology. We sometimes cannot use these applications, and we really need to be, to have the accessibility more and more. I really know that we have some challenges using the AI, and I really want just to try to find the problem and try to find solutions for for us as blind users using technology all the time. How can we improve this accessibility here in Kuwait? And I have the final thing that I want to say, I can be a volunteer to test any website if you'd like to help in making accessibility and having all the technology accessible for the blind. Thank you so much.
We should thank you, actually all of us sitting up here. Thank you for offering stuff like that, because it's really heartening to start with. It's very, very nice to find people that are really passionate enough to find the barriers and help show them to the rest of the world. We don't have enough people with enthusiasm like you, Hanan, so thank you.
I would like to thank you.
The last question.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's a quick one.
okay.
To Ms. Khansa Al-Husseini, first of all, it's a nice opportunity to listen to this fantastic panel discussion, and I would like to ask about what are the suggested enforcement mechanism, legal enforcement mechanisms beyond social responsibility and moralistic advocating.
Can I just comment on her first, and then you can answer his question. I would like first to thank you for volunteering to be one of the testers, but I want to let you know that here in Kuwait, me and Dr. Zainab, and also I believe there's other researchers also in Kuwait University, they did some research about accessibility of e-government, and also there was actually a master thesis led by Dr. Zainab about also that for the mobile application. Other than that, we did other research in the area of social media accessibility in Kuwait here. But I believe these are, you can say, more of individual efforts that has been done. And in order to ensure that you have accessibility in the services, let's say, because at least you need to have services that are provided for the citizens to be accessible, right? So in order to ensure that, I think what Ms. Al-Khansa mentioned here, which is PADA is trying to enforce the law and ensuring that the policies are being applied and so on, because this will ensure also to have that. Another thing that came to my mind is something that I saw in Qatar maybe before a couple of days. There is Meta Center there in Qatar, and what they are doing there is, I like it, because what they did is that their center is did testing for the accessibility of all the governmental services, and they did ranking for them. So it's like there is accountability on the following up of making sure that the services are accessible, because other than doing that, we know that it will not be, let's say, achieved. But thank you.
Regarding the policy, till now in Kuwait we didn't have a policy owner or a hierarchy in the government to develop this policy. So as PADA, we're still working with or coordinating with Citra and Kate, which are responsible from the government side on ICT and communication regulation and legislation in Kuwait. What we are doing, we're trying to push it from in a soft way with the ministries through awareness and encouraging them to do these things. But till now, we don't have a law in Kuwait to support this.
So adding to that, which is very true, thank you, Al-Khansa. Change doesn't happen without voices. It's you, people who are struggling with the problems that need to go out there and advocate. And it takes collaboration. It takes all sectors to push the agenda and make sure that something happens or goes into effect. So we're talking about 6 years since our framework comes out, 6 very long years of a lot of struggle, and people have gone leaps and bounds, and you could have finished degrees within these years, right? We're talking about a lot of change could happen within days. So if you have the voice, if you have the ability, wherever scope you are, whether it's you and your manager or you or your team leader or whoever, to voice change and to make sure that it's implemented for people that you see around you that need it, then that's where we start. And inshallah, with time and effort, they'll have it into place, inshallah.
Anybody has questions? Anyone? Okay, thank you so much. We'll recognize our panelists now and appreciate them, yes.